Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us this morning for this webinar where we're going to be looking at Microsoft Teams and give you a bit of a flavour of what Teams is all about, some of the things it can do, and hopefully how it may be a benefit to your organisations. Just a quick introduction to ADM, as I think we've got quite a mixed audience today, some more familiar faces, some less so, but all equally welcome. So we're an IT service and support company. We're based in Kent. We cover London, the South East, and further afield now with all the cloud technologies, of course. We can do a lot more things on a more remote basis. We're established in 1984. We are 34 years young, and we've got about 70 staff, and 3/4 of those are on the technical and service delivery teams. We're very much the technical, the engineering heavy in our business. We are a Microsoft Gold partner, as you can see there on the screen, and we're very proud of all of our accreditations there. We hold quite a large number. A lot of partners you'll see may have one, possibly two. Obviously, we've got quite a few more there, as well as some silvers as well. We're also ISO 9001, 14001 and 27001 certified, as well as holding Cyber Essentials Plus. We're also a highly rated partner with many of the other industry leading vendors in the respective fields. And these competencies all around this aren't just us sitting a couple of exams or buying a bit of paper. We really have to live and breathe this technology to attain this level. We have to be actively doing it, deploying it, supporting it for our customers, and say absolutely we really do live and breathe it. So to introduce myself very quickly, I'm Mark Phillip. I'm a Service Account Manager and Advanced Cyber Essentials Practitioner here at ADM. So my role is kind of split between working with our customers, helping them get more out of their various services and subscriptions, particularly the Microsoft Cloud Stack. I also work with our customers to take them through the Cyber Essentials scheme, so working on the security front. And the two dovetail together beautifully because as we'll cover in a little while, we can't use cloud without thinking about security. And there are some great tools in the Microsoft Stack for that, which I'll come on and touch on some of that a little later on. So what I'm just going to run through this morning for the next half hour, take a quick flavour of what actually is Teams. I will, as I said, just talk briefly about security and compliance and what Microsoft's take on that is. I'm going to talk about Teams as a collaborative platform, and both for internal in your business, but also beyond your business. It's very much an internal and external tool. How we can integrate 365 apps in with Teams. And moving on then as well to talk about transitioning from Skype for Business into Teams. Some of you may have heard some news on that front as well. So we'll cover a bit more on that. And that does lead nicely into my last topic there of Teams, which is, say, a meeting and calling solution as well. And in the middle of that as well, I do have some hot off the press news as well, which came out. There's a large conference going on in the States as we speak, so I've got a few things I can drop in there just to keep you totally up to date on what Microsoft are doing. We do have the option here via the Q&A box, the conversation chat in Skype for Business there. So if you've got any questions, do fire them over. We've got half hour, so we've got quite a lot to get through. So I'll try at the end to do a quick wrap up on any questions that have come through. If we don't get time, what we will do afterwards as a follow-up is we'll collate all the questions and we'll do a follow-up summary and get that round to you via the email address you registered with. So please do send the Q&A, the questions over. We'll try and get to them, but if not, we'll come back afterwards. So the big question, what is Teams? So Teams is very much a collaboration application, a big part now of Office 365. It's included in most Office 365 business and enterprise subscriptions. There's only a couple of the very low-level subscriptions, such as the email-only subscriptions, that it's not part of. And it's very much a chat-based collaboration tool with both a team and an individual focus. And I'll show you a little more example of that later on. And when we're talking Teams, we've got to kind of think a little bit beyond necessarily a traditional team. We can have a traditional team such as finance or HR, but it could be a project team. It could be people from multiple areas of the business working together. We also have this one-to-one chat, so you can collaborate directly with another colleague as well. We also use Teams to bring together other Office 365 apps into a single place. And as I say, we'll cover some of this as we go through. So it starts becoming almost a single pane of glass for a lot of Office 365. So for user adoption, brilliant, because it starts making things a lot simpler and say puts it all in that one place, rather than having to have lots of different windows open, lots of different apps, not sure what one's where, etc. We can very much share and collaborate both on our conversation, but also on our documents and our content. It's very much a tool to collaborate on that. So taking beyond perhaps OneDrive sharing and things like that and taking it into a true collaborative area. And as I kind of alluded to in the agenda, it is actually taking over from Skype for Business Online, but I'll go into that in a little more detail later on. So just a couple of little bits of information about Teams that this again has just been released yesterday. So happy birthday, I should say, actually, for Teams. It's now 2 years old. It's just turned 2 this week. And as we can see from our little infographic from Microsoft there, they released these figures yesterday. They're now stating more than 500,000 organisations across the world are using Teams, and 91% of the Fortune 100 companies are within that. And it's now in 181 marketplace with support for 44 languages, and that's growing all the time. 150 organisations have got 10,000 or more active users. So Teams isn't just for sort of small to medium business. It's absolutely any business, right up into the enterprise levels as well. It has a use case right across the board. And what's not shown there that equally Microsoft are very proud of is that it is actually one of their fastest adopted applications in Microsoft history in that short 2 years timescale. So, and in fact, it's actually just won an award. There's a big show, as I mentioned, in Florida at the moment, the Enterprise Connect event, and it's just won the Best in Show award in that show. So, huge things happening with Teams, and we're seeing just this constant, almost avalanche of new features and new functionality coming into it. And that's, drop in some of that as we go through today. But I mentioned security at the beginning as well, and we can't use cloud without security. We've got to think about this. And again, we could talk all day just on security alone. So just really to give you a little brief headline out. 365, Office 365, Microsoft 365, in fact the whole Microsoft Cloud Stack includes an awful lot of security and compliance tools. Many of them are available out the box as part of your Office 365 tenant, and offline in this webinar we're more than happy to go through some of that with you. Some of the security features start coming in at the higher levels, so you need to start having things like E3 or even E5 licensing, or have a bolt-on such as EM&S. Again, we can go through some of those sort of things in greater depth for you offline. Please do drop us a message if you want to do that. But there is an awful lot there. Also, if we're talking about compliance, we're talking about things like privacy statements, all this sort of stuff that we of course need for GDPR. If you want to look at what Microsoft's statements are on that, there's a whole website called the Trust Center, the Microsoft Trust Center. Do go and have a look at that. And there's particularly things like information around where data is geographically located. There is information around what privacy standards and what compliance standards Microsoft adhere to, such as ISO 27001, amongst many others. There's an awful lot of data in there. But when you're looking to do due diligence on any platform, and you're looking at any impact assessments, all that sort of thing, then that's some really good information you can use to help show that actually you're making a good choice there, and that you've done your due diligence. So there is a lot there. As I said, Teams absolutely all around collaboration, and rather than just talking about it, we'll actually start showing you a few of the features and actually show you a little bit of Teams just to give you a little flavour of it. So I'm actually going to go across now. We've got here ADM's Teams. So this is the Teams that I have access to. Now Teams is very much permissions based. So again, we're keeping our security in mind. It's not the Wild West. It's not a free-for-all. I can only see teams that I have been added to by the team owner. As you can see, I've got this highlight here on the left, which is the list of teams that I have either started myself or been added to. So there are many other teams at ADM. which I'm not a member of, as I don't work in either that project or that area of the business. Again, it's all about that permission and that compliance. So you might notice on one of those teams there, the Mark demo, one of my test teams, it's got a little bold highlight on it. So this is where we bring in notifications into Teams, and it's highlighting to me that there is actually some new content in that team. Of course, new content in the team I'm part of, they want to look at that. Now, you can well imagine, particularly if you've been out on the road, you've been away from your desk a bit, that there could be quite a lot of bold highlighted teams, and we're all busy people. It's not saying that necessarily when I get in, if I've got half hour in the morning before my first meetings, is all of that necessarily relevant? Do I need to look at it right now? I've got to prioritise. And what we can also do here, a little tip here, if you're starting adoption of Teams as part of your training, when you actually send a message into that group, we can do an at mention, much like we can on most of the social media platforms. And you literally type the at sign, start typing the person's name, and it'll put a highlight against their name. And what that'll actually do, up in the top left there's an activity button, that'll actually flag it up in there to me. So if someone has at mentioned me, it's saying, look, Mark, I need to actually highlight you, need to actually pay attention. This isn't just an FYI, this isn't a CC in email terms. This is something you need to actually look at. So it gives me that bit more focus. So when we're talking about adoption, at mentions, a big part of that. But of course, people need to learn, don't at mention everything because it kind of becomes worthless. Everything is at mentioned. So it's about finding the right focus there. So I've now gone across into Team. This is one of our informational teams, our cloud services updates. So this one is one we use internally at ADM for just general getting information around the business, as I said earlier. Microsoft are doing so much development, particularly on Teams and the rest of the cloud stack. There's new features, new stuff coming out all the time. And even for us as Microsoft partners, it's a huge job keeping on top of that. And we've got various different people in the organisation that all pick up on different feeds, so that they're privy to different sources from Microsoft. We want to get these into one place, so we have a team here. So this is very much that informational space. As you can see in here, we've got colleague Andy's forwarded an email, which is a weekly update from Microsoft of 365 changes. I've actually put in a couple of links there. One is a blog post from Microsoft. So this is some new features that came out in Teams, and I've also then put out another note, which is a Teams demo, an interactive demo, which we can use as well, aside of being able to do presentations such as this. So it's all things that may be useful within ADM, that we've got this general place, and in this particular team, the whole of ADM can see it. And as you might notice in the middle there under my tech community post, it does say there 2 replies from you and John. So there you can then have a conversation around that post, and it becomes a mini thread within the team as well. And you can so the content can stay together. So part of the user adoption training there, again, just training people to actually reply to a message. It keeps those threads together. Now across the top here in this team, which I've highlighted for you, we can see there we've got a few different tabs. And this is where we start bringing in other areas of 365 and also other content into the team channel. So in this particular instance, we've got files, we've got a link there to the 365 roadmap, which is actually a website. Cloud Services Planner, that's another planning tool that we use from Microsoft. We've got access to SharePoint in this one, but we can bring in a really wide range of options there. The one I'm just going to focus on, because again, keeping on the collaboration front, is the files area. So we can actually post files into this team, and again, only the people in this team have access to this. So thinking, security, permissioning, all best practice there, we've very much got that throughout this, it's baked in. So in this particular one, we've got various files here, we've got some PDFs, we've got some Word documents, but yeah, we could have almost anything, images, PowerPoints, Excel sheets, almost any type of team there. So, and here's a huge part of 365. We pick it up in Teams, but it does come from SharePoint, from OneDrive as well. If a file has come from a 365 location, multiple people with access to it have the ability to edit it simultaneously. So in our example here in Teams, we can both go in. So this could be, we've got some music, some guides here that we use. So we've got that one in the middle there that Andy's written. Using multi-factor authentication, a security feature on 365 admin accounts. So that's a little how to set that up that any of our engineers can follow. Let's say that needs updating, and myself and Andy were going to work on that together. We could both open it, and literally as I will see his text coming in as I'm in it, and vice versa. And it saves all that in, and it works the same for PowerPoints, for Excel sheets, those editable Office files. So it's a really great way of people being able to actually collaborate. You're not fighting over the file. There's not those shouts across the office. Can you unlock the file for me? We don't have that anymore. Just to sidetrack from that, just briefly, if you do need more control over your files, though, so you want things like version history, you want approval processes, we can do that, but that's moving into SharePoint territory, and there's a whole world that we can do there along those lines, and that sits very nicely alongside Teams. Again, slightly outside the scope of what we're talking about today, but we can go through that as well, that whole side of things, and how we can use SharePoint as that collaboration, but also that compliance tool for your documents as well. So do reach out to us if you want to talk more on that front. But back to Teams. So it's very much that collaboration. We use it a lot for some of our projects here at ADM, for example. I mentioned Cyber Essentials. As myself, we have two practitioners here, myself and John. And quite frequently we will be working on particularly large engagements together, and we're writing reports, we're analysing the data we've collected during our audits. So, we need to work on these things together, and it's quite frequent that we're working on an audit report absolutely together, and I might be working on the area around the malware, and John may be working on things like the firewalls. Two different sections of the report, we work together, much more productive, and we can instantly see what each other's working on. So I mentioned about that, it is only, you only see the teams that either you have started or you've been added to. And adding members to a team, if you've started a team, adding other members is really easy. There is an add member option, you get this little dialog pop up, you literally tap in that person's email address. And if they are within your organization, so they're on your 365 tenant, their name will pop up, you just click it, you can add them. Now, here's the next step on from Teams. We're not just internal in our organization. We can add external users, and external means people who are not part of your organization. So this could be your customers, your trading partners, could be anyone. They don't need a 365 license either to actually come in and collaborate in this environment with you. So I could actually, and we actually do this quite often on projects, I could set up a team for a project, and I may want to bring our customer project lead into that. So I would add their email address. They get an email that says, hey, you've been joined to Teams, and they can click the link, and it takes them to the website, the web version of Teams, and they will only see this team they've been added to. All that chat, content, files, they can then see then. So it's a great way of collaborating beyond your organization. And really taking it on the next level. So we're talking about internal and external. Again, there are options available to Teams to control what guests can and can't do. So there's various things we can do at a kind of more admin level as well. And that side of it is increasing all of the time. Now, I've been talking about teams and collaborating as a team and a group of people. But as well, a large part of Teams is that it is a one-to-one chat as well. So within this, we have much as we've had for Skype for Business and many other messaging platforms. I have a list of the chats that I've had previously. So I've got one here with my colleague John, and much like we've had for Skype for Business in the past or other platforms, we can actually have that ongoing conversation. And this particular one here was actually a chat we were doing in preparation of a security session that we were going to run. We were co-speaking, and we were actually just talking about some of the content, and also John was working on a quiz, and I was helping him by doing a bit of QA on that for him. And but we weren't in the same part of the office, so we need to still work, but work from different locations. So we were able to do that. Get that all prepared here through this platform. Now, this is a step forward from Skype for Business, because Skype for Business is a fairly basic chat app. Once you close the chat gets saved to Outlook. Yes, you can go back and find it, but it's not the nicest experience. With Teams, it is a true persistent chat. If I were to scroll up that list there, then I would actually see all my previous conversations with John. Equally, because it's in Teams, I can also share files. I can actually use emojis, GIFs, all that kind of modern chat collaboration content that increasingly we're more aware of and using more in our daily lives. But the big one there is that it is a persistent chat, which is a huge step forward over Skype for Business. Now, what I've been showing you so far really has been using either the Windows desktop app or the web-based version of Teams, which you can get through portal.office.com. They're almost identical. They're very, very close. There's a couple of small little things that aren't quite as good in the web app, but it's minuscule. They're very, very close. But what if we don't have a Windows device? So Microsoft Teams, as with the rest of Office 365, is fully supported on Android and iOS. And there is a Teams app for both those platforms. And it is very good. It is the interface is kind of reformed to suit the smaller screens, to suit those operating systems, but the functionality to a large degree matches what is in the desktop app as well. So we can have those one-to-one chats. I can go into a team and chat in there. I can open files that have been shared in that team. I can make calls through the calling side, which we'll come on to more in a moment. Anything I can do in desktop app, I can pretty much do via that mobile app. So we're taking this on a step beyond just collaboration now. We're now expanding on this logic, which we get through all of 365. It's about having access to your data, to your conversations, to your communications, wherever you are, but in a secure manner. And I keep saying security, we can't forget this. And there are tools, as I said earlier on in 365, that actually help with using mobile devices. If you want to start letting people use their own devices, bring your own device, BYOD. Absolutely, that's all very doable. There is an add-on suite that Microsoft sell to Office 365 called Enterprise Mobility and Security, or indeed we can look at the bundle, the Microsoft 365 bundle. There's a whole world of tools there around management of data, management of mobile devices. So again, do reach out to us if that's something you want to find out more about. We can talk more on that front. So there's a lot we can do there. But if you've got that set up, then you can absolutely use Teams on a mobile device very easily. I'd say, just to round that out, it does absolutely go forward to other areas of 365 as well. Word, Excel, all got Android and iOS versions. The Outlook app for those platforms, very, very good. There's also free apps available from Microsoft. You get Office Lens, which is a camera tool, but it also then gives you the ability to save back to things like OneNote and OneDrive. I mentioned the Outlook app, very good mail app. I actually use it on my Android phone. I've got my work Office 365 running through that. I've got my personal 365 and my personal Gmail, and it handles it all beautifully. So it's a really nice app there. So yeah, a lot there to check out if you're in that mobile world as well. I touched on this previously, but again, that integration, that wider 365 integration into Teams, and when I showed you those tabs and how we can actually, we have those different tabs, different apps within Teams, this is just a snapshot of some of the things we can bring in there and actually surface all through that team window. One I will call out there specifically, which works really well in Teams, it's a huge step forward, is OneNote. OneNote's a great tool. It's an electronic notebook. It's brilliant, but the sharing options, if you have a OneNote yourself, it's an all or nothing. You're sharing the whole notebook, and we've found in the past that some users, it's very easy to trip up and get a bit unsure on what you're actually sharing, and we've seen people sharing their whole notebook, which of course is probably not appropriate. With Teams, we can add a OneNote notebook into that team. And when it gets set up, it automatically inherits the permissions from that team. So again, only the people in that team see that OneNote. So it's a much better way of sharing and collaborating on a shared notebook. So you might have heard, there's been quite a lot of sort of fresh chatter around this, about Skype for Business ending and Teams taking over. So Microsoft have announced previously with the launch Teams that Skype for Business Online they've been basically bringing all the features and functionality from Skype for Business Online over into Teams. And that's been going on for about the last 18 months. Towards the end of 2018, Microsoft announced feature parity from Skype for Business Online and Teams. Now, they haven't actually given us an actual end date for Skype for Business Online. The current official statement is it's all fully supported. Now, what we have seen is that new Office 365 tenants that are under 500 user counts will actually come with Teams enabled for chat and collaboration rather than Skype for Business. We've also seen some tenants that Microsoft have been going out and actually been actively pushing those from Skype into Teams, provided they fit some very strict criteria. So there's an awful lot of push from Microsoft to get people from Skype into Teams. If they haven't tried yet, just go straight to Teams is the message. But we haven't seen that end date yet. What I would say though is, if you are a Skype for Business users, online users particularly, do start looking at Teams now if you haven't already. Whilst again, the official line is Skype for Business Online supported, we've not seen end dates. Equally, if we saw an announcement tomorrow to say Skype for Business Online is coming to an end at a certain point, it wouldn't surprise me. So I think the sensible thing is to start looking at Teams now, even on a small scale, so you're starting that journey. Now, all that said, Skype for Business on-premise is still around. There's just been a 2019 version announced, along with the rest of the 2019 server suite. So there is also an on-premise. But again, that's going to be more, as I think, in time for probably enterprises and particular, very specific use cases, rather than some of the more general use where most people would use online now. And if you are in that crossover period, you're moving from Skype for Business Online into Teams, there are various modes available, and it kind of depends on what features you're using in Skype currently as to how you transition. So again, perhaps a more specific conversation that we can have with you offline to sort of flesh that out. But for example, here at ADM, we use Skype for Business as our calling platform, as well as our collaboration platform. We're moving into Teams. We're in the middle of that journey. I'm one of the small number of users here who are in Teams only mode. So I get all my instant message, all my calls, all my chat, the whole lot comes through Teams. I can still join a Skype for Business meeting if someone has arranged that, which is what we've done today. But everything I get is through Teams. Now, if I message someone who is a Skype for Business user here, then they actually see it in Skype, yet I sent it from Teams. I get my Skype for Business contacts showing in Teams. So because I'm that Teams only, I get it. So there's a kind of a gradual move over, and the functionality starts coming into Teams, but coexisting with Skype. But it is very much a bit of a use case, so do have a conversation with us. We can kind of explore where you're at, what you're using, and then what will be the right path for you, because it can vary from organisation to organisation. If you're not really using Skype for Business, I would say just jump straight into Teams. Why confuse things with Skype? Just go straight for Teams. So, as I mentioned, we use it as our phone system. It can absolutely be used as a cloud-hosted phone system. Microsoft, this is quite a mature product now. It's been around for a while with Skype for Business Online. We can use and have it effectively hosted via Microsoft. Now, you do need certain licensing. So, and again, it's a bit of a mix and match. It depends whether you're on E3 or E5 licensing as to which add-ons you need. There's different levels of call plans as well. So again, we can help you build that out depending on what your use cases are. But of course, think of it this way. Yes, you're putting more licensing into Microsoft, but of course you may be not paying another vendor for a phone system. So, and again, you're bringing it in with your 365, taking advantage of your 365 licensing, so that can be potentially very powerful there. We also have the option of direct routing, so we can actually utilize other SIP providers for things like the call plan, number provisioning, but actually using Teams essentially as your front end, as your phone client. So we do have some options around that as well. So again, it's a very powerful project. There's a lot we can do there on calling, and but again, talk to us there. We can have a conversation around your use case. As a meeting platform, absolutely, it can be used to arrange and schedule meetings, and yeah, we can put those in via Outlook as well. So whereas historically we've had join Skype meeting, as I think you saw today, then actually we can now have a join Teams meeting option there, as you can see up in my Outlook invite there. We can schedule meetings from Outlook or from Teams. The two work nicely together. It goes into your calendar and you get the nice little link via the calendar invite. So when we're actually in that meeting environment in Teams, we can have full video. So there's myself in a meeting in a Teams chat. But here's where Teams gets really neat. It's all about, as I said earlier, collaboration. It's about having access to your data, your content, your calling comms whilst out, and mobile as well. So I'm in a customer site and I might be on a meeting. I might be in a coffee shop. Could be anywhere. Work from home perhaps. I don't want that in my background, yet I do want to engage in a video meeting. Simple. We hit the blur background option. So, and Teams does exactly that. Exactly, it blurs that background for you. I'll just go back to the previous slides. You can see that. There we go. So that there is available from directly inside that meeting. You have that option. Of course, we can just mute the video as well via the option there. You can switch the camera off and just do it voice only. So just to give you a flavour of some of the things there we can do, and we can have multiple people coming in there, collaborating across multiple different devices, and you can make that, you can come in on that via your phone, via your tablet, via your PC. If you've got conferencing systems such as ones from Poly, people like that, then yeah, absolutely, they all integrate. The last thing I will say on calling though is perhaps a slight word of caution. If you've got, if you're using headsets for calling, so you're linked up to a laptop or a PC and you're using a headset for the voice and the sound, great. There's a huge range out there you can use with Teams now. For desk phones, there's a lot that is literally just coming out as we speak. With the launch of Teams as a calling platform, all the main vendors had to basically rebuild re-engineer the software on their phones. So they're now releasing Teams certified phone devices quite literally now. So that is something that's happening as we speak. But again, there's a huge range. So you will be able to use Teams either for the more headsets, you could use it on a desk phone. I actually use mine a lot. In fact, as I'm using today, I'm presenting on a Surface Pro, and I'm using the built-in microphone and speakers on that. So, just to round out, I'm conscious of time, we've managed to run on a bit, so there's too much to talk about in Teams. It's a great product for that. I mentioned there was the Enterprise Connect show in Florida happening literally as we speak, which Teams won the award for. So there are some new features. A raft of new features have come out and been announced by Microsoft, and they have actually posted there, they live streamed the keynote on this. So if you Google Microsoft and Enterprise Connect show, you should be able to find that. And this is some of the new features. So customized background. So when we're on the blur background, I'm just going to call out a couple of things here. The blur background, you could actually now have a specific background. So it might be that you wanted to have perhaps your corporate logo showing as a background while you're presenting video. It could be you just want a nice, picture of a nice garden scene or whatever it happens to be, a kind of a generic office behind you. But you can have that customized background now. The whiteboard in Teams. So again, if you're using touch devices, particularly interactive screens, you can now actually have, you're going to be able to have whiteboard, the whiteboard app, which is exactly what it sounds like. It is a whiteboard, but you can use it on a touch screen to using the inking tools. That's going to come into team meetings. Last one, just to call out there, data loss prevention, DLP in chats and conversations, extending the current options we have around data loss protection, protecting your data. We're trying to protect against data getting leaked out where it shouldn't be. So you might have one of those chats where, there was external people involved. Brilliant, we like that. But you still want to be careful about what data gets out to them. You want to put a bit of control around that. There's going to be more controls coming into Teams as an extension of some of the DLP functionality in 365 and the M&S. So those are literally just a few of the things that have been announced yesterday. Some of them are going now into public preview. So these will now be coming out in production over the coming months. So watch this space. We'll keep you up to date on that. So I did say at the beginning we'll try and cover some Q&A. I'm conscious of time. We have actually run over, so we've had a few questions come in. As I promised at the beginning, what we will do is we'll summarise those for you, and we'll circulate those round so that you get the visibility of that. We are recording the session today, so once we've got that posted publicly, we will get that posted out as well, so that you can actually review this again at your leisure. Obviously, please do feel free to share that with any colleagues who couldn't make it today. More than happy for them to see that. It just leaves me then really to say thank you very much for attending. Do hope that was useful, give you a brief insight into Teams. With half an hour, we can really only do a flavour, a taster. There's so much more we can talk about on Teams, on 365, on the modern workplace, chat and collaboration. So if you do want to find out more on any of that, do feel free to give us a shout. Yeah, other than that, thank you very much, and wish you a pleasant rest of the day.